Still, I managed to fit in. I have a lot of experience fitting in places where I don't really belong. For me, that starts with every family photo ever taken. That's because my mother is actually Indian, Gujarati specifically. My father, on the other hand, is a great big white guy, which you could all tell from the second I took the mic. That's usually everyone's first guess. Now, my parents got married over 40 years ago. That was before interracial marriage was cool, or at least legal in West Virginia. And the marriage ultimately produced 4 hybrid children. Now, my siblings come in a rainbow of colors. They're all very beautiful, and they all look appropriately mixed race. Like, they're what white people mean when they say exotic. And then there's me. I look like a hardy medieval peasant girl who survived many harsh winters. Genetics is a lottery. Now, despite the existence of, mirrors, I didn't realize I looked like this for a really long time. And that's because our mom made the fascinating decision to raise us as Indian children. And she went all out. So we're all vegetarians, we're all good at math. Only half of us are doctors. But then she did marry a white guy. Kind of best case scenario. Still, my Indian upbringing was so intense that I was shocked when I got to school and no one could tell I was Indian at all. I had a full-on kindergarten crisis when I realized, oh my gods, am I white? Oh, sweet Ganesh. Now, the reason I invoke Ganesh is because Ganesh is the god of overcoming obstacles. That's one of the many things I learned as the only white kid in Hindu Sunday school. My religious education was difficult at best. Like, one of the most common activities we do in Hindu Sunday school was put on skits about the various gods, and I played a demon in every one. I know all the demons now. I recently asked my white Irish dad, Dad, why did you let Mom bring us to Hindu Sunday school? And he was like, listen, you kids could have been raised Catholic. So as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome. Hard to argue with. My family recently took our first family trip to India. And I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't want to go. Like, I knew I wasn't gonna fit in, right? But my unique heritage combines Irish guilt with Indian guilt, so I never had a chance. I was on point. And I like to think that in the States, I'm a normal-looking human woman. Like, that's what I'm going for, right? I don't meet that criteria in India. In India, I'm an obese albino giant. That's the energy I bring to India. So, it was a complicated trip. You can see why. And a really weird thing kept happening to my family in India. I kept watching. We'd be in like tourist places, and I would watch an Indian person go up to my mother and say to her in Hindi, "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need help?" And my mom would be like, "No, I'm good. I'm just looking at this fancy temple, And they'd be like, "Ma'am, do you know those people?" And then they would point at us, her children and husband. And after this happened enough time, I realized that when Indian people saw our mixed-race family, they thought my mom was the victim of human trafficking. That was the most plausible explanation they could come up with. They thought that a white tourist family came to India, kidnapped an Indian woman for ambiance, I guess, and then forced her to travel around India with them. And that made me mad, because I was the one who had been dragged to India. Surely, if anyone's a victim of human trafficking, it's me. But I think the worst part of that trip to India is that my mom's not actually from India. So she's of Indian descent, but she was born and raised in East Africa. And like a lot of the weirdness in the world, we have England to thank for that. English food is so bad that England was like, we can't live like this. And they took over India for spices they now refuse to use. Why use spices if you can boil something? So my mom was born and raised in